Hey everybody, I'm Laura from Cheerbo Supply, and today I'm going to show you how to place a name, or it could be a name or a mascot or any type of saying or phrase. I'm going to show you how to place it correctly on a Cheerbo, specifically on a loop. I'm going to show you how to position that so it turns out right every time and you don't get any ugly creases in your loops or anything like that from ironing on. I'm going to show you how to position that just right. For this tutorial, I already have my ribbon prepared. I'm using 29 inches of 3-inch black grosgrain ribbon for my base ribbon. And on one side, I have a chevron spangle that's already been applied. It's purple and green. And on the other side, I used a purple Mystique fabric. I want the name to be on the purple side of the loop. So to make sure that I position it correctly, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-make the bow. I want the front of the tic-tac bow to be the chevron spangle material, so I'm just going to pre-fold it, make sure I get it centered properly, line up the ends, and then take your iron and just crease the center. That will give you a reference to make sure that your bow is proportionally correct. So I'm going to fold down the purple fabric side first, and then I'm going to cross it with the spangle side. I want to make sure that visually my tails look even. I measure this inside of the V and make sure it's even precise. I'm going to measure it. This one measures about 4 3/4 inches, and this is 5, so I'm going to slide this side back just a little bit. Now I'm going to hold that cross, make sure it doesn't slide, and then I'm going to look for where I have my crease, and I'm going to line it up exactly in the back, so the bow should look like this. Then I'm going to crease the center, make my peaks and valleys there, make sure it's nice and smooth. And I'm going to take a zip tie. You need a few zip ties for this because I'm going to cut this one in a minute. I'm just going to loosely hold that center together. And I'm going to make sure that the tails are the length I want, and that they're even, and that the bow looks how I would like it to look. And this looks like my purple side got a little too short. If you can see that my purple tail looks too short. Sometimes you can correct that, and if there's too much correction, sometimes you just need to start over and snip that zip tie and get it completely fixed. But let's see. Actually, it looks like I was able to fix that pretty well. So what I'm going to do to put the name where I want, I'm going to leave the letters on the carrier sheet, and the carrier sheets of most of the cutouts of vinyl is a little tacky, has a little bit of adhesive. So I'm going to take it and place it exactly where I want it to be. Just make sure it's completely on the fabric and it's the correct height. You don't want it to fall into where it starts to crease and pucker. You won't be able to see the name. So just make sure it's exactly where you want it to be. And then hold it in place so it doesn't come off. And then carefully cut the center. And now you know exactly where to iron on the name. So when we put it back together, the name will be positioned exactly where you want it. So now I'm going to move my tools here, and I'm going to cover this with this is a splat mat, and this will protect the materials from the heat of the iron. So I'm going to take the iron, I'm going to place it flat directly on top of the name. That name was cut out of silver holographic vinyl. It gives a real nice shiny look, and it cuts out names very nicely. It has nice, clean, precise edges. So now I'm going to check and make sure it's properly adhered. I'm going to take one little corner, give it a second to cool. Okay, this is cooled a little bit. It's still warm, but it's cool enough that I can pull the carrier sheet off. So I'm going to slowly pick up a corner of the clear carrier sheet and start pulling back. As you can see, my letters stay adhered to the fabric. If any of them started to lift at all, then I would just stop. Don't pull the carrier sheet completely off. Just stop exactly where you are, lay the carrier sheet back down, and you should be able just to repress it and try again. If any lift, you just didn't have the iron hot enough or you didn't hold it for long enough. But mine went on there nicely. I can peel that carrier sheet off completely. And now I just need to duplicate the same procedure I used to pre-tie the bow. So I'm going to put this loop down first with the name on it, and then the spangle side. And my tails were about 4 3/4 of an inch long, so I'm going to measure again and make sure that that is exactly the same, and that way I should get the same result when I pre-tied the bow to make sure it was all spaced right. So I'm going to hold that X tight again, and my crease in the back, the center point, is still visible. And now I'm going to follow the same procedure where I just fold the center back and forth a few times. Get that nice smooth crease. That's what's real nice about these spangle strips instead of using rhinestones, is they crease so nicely in the center. They lay completely flat on the fabric, and they give it just as much sparkle and bling as a rhinestone, but they're much safer and easier to work with. Okay, make sure that I have this right. And now, as you can see, I have the name on the loop exactly where I had planned for it to be placed. Don't have to make any guesswork, and you certainly, if you're putting something on a loop, you don't want to put it on the loop and then put the iron on like this, because all you're going to do is obviously iron a crease into your loop, and it's not going to look nice. Okay, so now I'm ready to finish off this bow. So now that I've pulled my zip tie tight, I'm going to trim the extra. I prefer the ponios that have the metal clamp. They're stronger and they will last longer, and the metal clamp gives you a nice surface to glue. I glue the ponio right to the back of the plastic zip tie. You just use hot glue. Give it a few seconds to adhere, and then all you need is a little piece of glitter velvet. At least that's what I'm using for this. You can of course use whatever you like. Put a little glue on the back, and then bring your glitter vinyl around to the front. I wrap it right around the back of the ponytail holder. Trim any extra. A little bit extra glue. Putting that right on the back of the glitter velvet in case you can't see that on the camera. And then just bring it straight down across the back. And then your cheer bow, personalized with a precisely placed name on the loop, is complete.